Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. So glad to have you guys in today. I've been wanting to do this video for a while. Now, I'm going to be giving you guys a list of my top 10 players in the entire NFL. Now, it was very hard for me to make this list because there's just so many good players in the league, right? But I wanted to narrow it down to a top 10 to just kind of give you guys my opinion on this. So buckle up. Here we go. Starting with the first player on my list, Travis Kelce. Now, Travis Kelce is a guy who is arguably the best pass-catching tight end of all time. When you factor in everything else, just overall talent at the position, he's certainly top 5 all time. I don't know if I would necessarily put him number 1, but he's certainly in the conversation. This dude has had over 10,000 receiving yards in his career. He came out last year in his age 33 season and just put up pretty much like one of the best tight end seasons just we've ever seen from a pass catching perspective. This dude is basically the wide receiver 1 in his offense. His ability to run after the catch is second to none. So I really love Travis Kelce. I think he's going to be really good this coming season. So I still have him as a top 10 player in the NFL. The dude seems to defy all the laws of aging, and he's one of the most impressive players in this league. He's one of the biggest difference makers in this league, and he's a very big reason why the Chiefs won the Super Bowl last season. Next player on my list is going to be Trent Williams, my number 9. Now, this dude only allowed 1 sack last season. 1 sack. Only allowed 15 pressures on the quarterback. We've got a guy who is 6'5", 315, runs a 4.8, definitely an athletic specimen. And he's just an incredibly good reason why the San Francisco 49ers have such a dominant run game, why they're able to just maul people at the line of scrimmage and absolutely dominate time of possession and just crush teams into submission. Trent Williams is a huge reason why this team is making deep runs every single year. And you would think that, with his ability to block for the quarterback, you'd think they have less injuries at the position, but sometimes teams just get unlucky. I think that he could very well lead this team to a Super Bowl this coming season, no matter who the quarterback is, because he's one of the biggest difference-making players in the entire NFL. And as far as offensive line, he is the best offensive lineman in this league. Next player on my list is going to be Chris Jones, an incredibly impressive defensive lineman. Averaged over a sack per game in the second half of the year, the 2020 season. Led the league with 15.5 sacks at the position. He pressured the quarterback 40 times, which was second at the position. This dude's an incredibly talented defensive lineman, a huge reason why the Chiefs make a deep run every single season. He was absolutely dominant in the playoffs last year, and without him, they would not have won a Super Bowl. Next player on my list is going to be Cooper Kupp. Now, this is one that, look, I know a lot of people aren't going to like this because, a lot of people they don't put him in the greatest wide receiver conversation when it comes to best wide receiver in the NFL currently. And I don't understand why. Look, I know that this dude might not be as flashy as Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, but he's probably a better wide receiver than both of them. I mean, look at this dude 2 years ago. The minute that he finally, for the first time in his career, has a legit quarterback in Matt Stafford, he has 1,947 receiving yards, puts up one of the best wide receiver seasons we've ever seen. He had 812 receiving yards last year before he went down 9 games into the season. And a big reason for this is because he's a completely unguardable wide receiver out of the slot. They line him up, in these bunch formations where they're trying to kind of throw teams off. They set him in motion, let him kind of move all over the field. This dude is uncoverable. He's one of the best route runners in the league. When he gets set in motion, teams are clueless as to what to do because the Rams do have a very creative playbook, and it's the reason why their offense was so good in 2021. Obviously, they were terrible last season, but Cooper Kupp still absolutely dominated. This is one of the most talented wide receivers in the league, and while his athletic intangibles aren't up there with Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase and other wide receivers of the sort, this dude is absolutely uncoverable, and he's just one of the most talented wide receivers in the league, and people need to start to give him his respect for what he is. This guy, if he has one more great season, is an easy Hall of Famer, is one of the best wide receivers in today's NFL, and nobody's going to have him in a top 10 list but me because he's not as flashy as some of the other players, but he's certainly one of the top 10 best players in the league. This dude single-handedly runs the Rams offense, and he is the reason they won the Super Bowl in 2021. Next player on my list is going to be Nick Bosa. Obviously, a great edge rusher, one of the best defensive players in the game, led the league in sacks at the position last year, led in quarterback pressures by a long shot with 59. This dude is a massive reason why the 49ers are so good. He's a big reason why they're so good on both sides of the ball. He combines great athletic intangibles with a lot of, just game IQ and ability to play the position. This dude is incredibly talented. He's one of the best players in the league. And look, if he came out this year and led the league in sacks again, I wouldn't be surprised. If this dude didn't tear his ACL earlier in his career, sky's the limit. We might already be talking about him being one of the best defensive players of all time. And I think we still might be talking about him being one of the best defensive players of all time in the very near future if he continues to produce like this and continues to impress. This dude is an absolute monster, one of the biggest difference-making players in the game, easy top 10 player in the NFL. Next player on my list is going to be my number 5, and this is going to be Tyreek Hill. Now, right here, Tyreek Hill is another player that aren't on a lot of people's top 10 list, but I'm telling you right now, that's absolute nonsense. This dude single-handedly makes any offense good by default, right? Because what happens when Tyreek Hill gets set in motion? The team's best defender that they're going up against is worried about Tyreek Hill. Where is he going to go? Is he going to, line up out wide? Is he going to line up in the slot? Is he going to take a handoff? Is it going to be a jet sweep? What's this guy going to do? Are they going to throw a 7-yard slant and let him take it to the house? Are they going to throw a 50-yard bomb downfield? This dude can do everything. That's why I put him ahead of receivers like Devontae Adams, who, he's taller. He might be a slightly better route runner than Tyreek Hill, but he's just not as dangerous as far as the all-around game. Devontae Adams isn't going to take a jet sweep out of the backfield. He's not going to take a 7-yard slant to the house. I mean, he has some pretty decent speed and ability to get open downfield, but Tyreek Hill, the fastest wide receiver in the NFL, his ability to create separation and routes is second to none. He proved last year that he's quarterback-proof. I mean, we have a quarterback in Tua who's not supposed to be nearly as good as Pat Mahomes because nobody's as good as Pat Mahomes. And there's all this talk in the preseason about, Tua's more accurate than Pat Mahomes and everything like that. And Tyreek Hill's talking him up. Everybody thinks it's BS. Tyreek Hill comes out and has 1,700 receiving yards. What an absolute monster. I thought that he wasn't going to fit that well into the Miami offense because I honestly thought that he needed Pat Mahomes. I literally thought that last year. He absolutely proved us wrong this past season. And he showed that he's quarterback-proof. He's one of the only wide receivers in the NFL that no matter who is slinging him the rock, he is going to have elite production because he can take a 7-yard pass to the house. He can catch a 50-yard bomb. He can run the ball on a jet sweep and take the ball to the house from anywhere on the field. This dude has 75-plus yard touchdown plays almost every single season. He's incredibly explosive. He's one of the fastest players we've seen as far as game speed in the modern NFL era and really all time in the NFL. He's one of the fastest dudes I've ever seen on the field, right up there with Deion Sanders. Incredible athlete, incredible football player, and he has underrated route running abilities. It's not like this guy can't run routes. This dude is also a great route runner, incredible talent, top 5 player in the NFL. Next player on my list is going to be Myles Garrett. Now, Myles Garrett, 6'4", 270 pounds, athletic specimen, just an absolutely dominant rusher of the quarterback, runs a 4.6, so he can, not only is he huge, he can get to the quarterback from pretty much anywhere on the field, and he could run down a lot of these quarterbacks that consider themselves elite rushing quarterbacks. This dude has great speed as an edge rusher, 16 sacks last season, 38 quarterback pressures. This dude is tops in the league, and in these numbers, pretty much like every single year. This dude is an incredible defensive player, one of the best players in the game. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Browns this year, guys. You've got a player like Myles Garrett. They added Deshaun Watson. This team, the Browns, they're incredibly good on both sides of the ball. A big reason for this is because of Myles Garrett, because he is arguably the best player in the NFL. So he had to be really high up here on my list. He's an easy top 5 player for me. One of the best players in the league, Myles Garrett, my number 4 overall. My number 3 overall is going to be Aaron Donald. Now, right here we have what I think might be the best, most impressive defensive player that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I'm 34 years old, and in my lifetime of watching football, this is the best defensive player that I've ever seen. I mean, you've got a 6'1", 285-pound monster who runs a 4.68. His athletic intangibles are second to none. And if you look back on his 2021 season, before he had this injury season that he had last year, he led the league in sacks, quarterback pressures, tackles for loss, and run stuffs. This should be impossible, right? Because, you look at Chris Jones, as good as he was last year, Chris Jones, he led the league in a lot of the statistics as far as, rushing the passer, right? But he was 50th in run stuffs, right? Because it's so hard to dominate, getting to the quarterback and stopping the team's run game. Aaron Donald managed to lead the league in quarterback sacks, quarterback pressures, tackles for loss, and run stuffs in the same season. This is absolutely dominant. It's a testament to just how good Aaron Donald is, because as good as Chris Jones was last year, it's nothing compared to Aaron Donald's 2021 season. This guy is certainly in the conversation for best defensive player of all time. He's definitely the best defensive player that I've ever seen in my lifetime watching football. He's just an incredibly impressive football player, incredibly impressive athlete. This dude is one of the best football players I have ever seen. He's my number 3 overall in the league. Next player on my list is going to be Micah Parsons, who I think is currently, at his age, the best defensive player in the NFL, slightly ahead of Aaron Donald. I mean, we got a guy who, he has incredible closing speed, right? He's got that 4.4 speed. And I was doing some digging on Micah Parsons, right? And I was looking at the snaps that he took from the defensive line and the snaps that he took from the linebacker position in his first season in the NFL. In 2021, he took 41.5% of his snaps from the defensive line and took quite a bit more from the linebacker position, with 55.2% of his snaps coming from the linebacker position. And then this last season it switched. He actually took 80% of his snaps from the defensive line and only 20% of his snaps from the linebacker position. So he's saying that he wants to come out and be a defensive end this year. He wants to get to play on the outside a little bit more, which is totally understandable because of his incredible ability to rush the passer, to stop the run, to be all over the field and pretty much shut an entire offense down single-handedly. I mean, this dude is the reason the Cowboys were in the playoffs last year. Without Micah Parsons, the Cowboys were not a playoff team. They won because of their defense. Their defense was elite because of Micah Parsons' ability to rush the passer, ability to stop the run, ability to just pretty much be all over the field and do whatever is asked of him. He's moved around from, the defensive line to, outside linebacker, edge rusher. He's kind of moved all around, and he's kind of that hybrid player that, he's an edge rusher, he's a linebacker. He plays a lot of snaps on the defensive line. He's an incredibly versatile player, one of the best defensive players I've seen in a very long time. And he's pretty much already entering Hall of Fame considerations, and this is only going into his 3rd season, right? I mean, this guy is he's arguably the best player in the NFL right now. He's certainly in the conversation. That's why I have him at my number 2. Incredibly impressive player. I love Micah Parsons. I might be a little bit biased because I'm a Cowboys fan, but I think most people would agree that there is no version of this guy being outside of the top 5 best players in the league. Next and final player on my list, probably somebody that y'all expect to be my number 1, is Pat Mahomes, my only quarterback that I have on this list. Sorry, Josh Allen fans, Joe Burrow guys. I know you guys think that you have a top 10 overall player in the NFL, and you certainly have an argument. You have 2 incredibly good quarterbacks there. I mean, obviously, you've got Jalen Hurts as well. Heck, even Justin Herbert, he could be in the conversation. The dude's an incredible talent. But Pat Mahomes is the best quarterback I've ever seen. Right? He comes out last season without Tyreek Hill and throws the ball for over 5,000 yards. I haven't seen anything like this ever. I mean, a quarterback that is essentially wide receiver proof. You hear about the great wide receivers being quarterback proof. This is a quarterback that is wide receiver proof. He didn't go into last season with a true wide receiver 1, so everyone thought that the offense was going to plummet, and then he comes out and is the best quarterback in the NFL and throws for over 5,000 yards. Now, obviously, a large part of this is because a lot of the passing yards come from Travis Kelce, right? But, he in turn makes Travis Kelce a way better tight end than he would be without him slinging Travis Kelce the rock, right? And he spreads the ball around to all his wide receivers. It doesn't matter what wide receivers this team has. He can get the ball to anyone and make any wide receiver look like a wide receiver 1. I've never seen a quarterback in my entire life watching football that can make any wide receiver on his respective offense look like a wide receiver 1. You should have to be a wide receiver 1 to look like a wide receiver 1. We got random guys you've never heard of coming out in certain weeks and putting up just, 150 yards and a couple touchdowns because they have Pat Mahomes slinging him the rock. And as long as this dude is slinging the rock, any wide receiver becomes elite. He makes the entire offense pretty much totally unstoppable. What he did in the Super Bowl last year, playing with that high ankle sprain in the second half, it looked like the game was over. When you saw Pat Mahomes limping around, it legitimately looked like the game was over. The Eagles were going to steamroll him for the rest of the game because Pat Mahomes wasn't going to be able to play. I don't know what kind of drugs they gave him at halftime or why he came out, and it looked like he didn't really feel his ankle as much. I mean, but I totally understand it. You work all season to get to the Super Bowl. You're in the second half of the Super Bowl, and you're trying to establish your legacy, and you have a high ankle sprain, and then you have to sit out for the game. It's not fair. I'm totally for whatever they did in the locker room to make him not feel his ankle. And he came out with a high ankle sprain and absolutely dominated in the second half of the Super Bowl, took down what looked like an almost unbeatable Eagles team all season long just because he was the superior quarterback to Jalen Hurts. No disrespect to Jalen Hurts. Dude's great. But a quarterback single-handedly took out a team who was actually more talented than the team they were playing. The Eagles are a better football team than the Kansas City Chiefs. But the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. And when you have Patrick Mahomes, you're going into pretty much every single season as the favorite to win the Super Bowl. And so this guy is in a tier of his own. He is by far and away the best player in the NFL, and there is no debate. All right, guys, appreciate you tuning into my video. These are my top 10 players in the NFL. If your favorite player didn't make it to my list, I'm sorry. It was hard for me to make this list. It was hard for me to narrow it down into a top 10. But I wanted to give you guys this video just to give you my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Who did I leave out? Where should I be? Who am I too high on? Who am I too low on? And just kind of let me know what you think of my list here. All right, guys, appreciate it. I will catch you all later.